Support us means a lot, and hopefully the response from audiences around the world will be worthy of the story. And it's a phenomenal story. My dad lived a singularly extraordinary life, and so did my mom, and she's very present in this film as well. And it's my honor to be their son and to help tell the story.
Caregivers are the underrated heroes of America, and to the fact that they showed that relationship, showed the beautiful love and how strong it stayed through thick and thin as they tested those marriage vows, and she stood by him, and they found so much strength in each other, and it's just beautiful to have that captured in this way.
And me as a kid and like a chubby 12-year-old with braces, yeah, I'm thrilled. No, it's in all seriousness, it's really exciting. I mean, it's a little bit surreal actually to think about that this all began about 3.5 years ago with a cold email that I got from a guy just asking if we had home movie footage, if we ever thought about doing a documentary about our dad. And, you know, one thing after another, here we are. You know, it was made by an incredible group of talented filmmakers. We gave them our archive, we gave them ourselves in these interviews, and then we stepped back and we trusted them to tell this story, not without kind of a pretty strong vetting process and a list of questions, and also watching their previous work, which is outstanding. And so it's really exciting that we're here tonight, that it's playing, that it's going to be playing at Fathom event screens this weekend and next week on his birthday. So I'm incredibly excited, a little bit nervous, and but most of all, just like thrilled and honored to be here.
Well, we wanted to do justice to Chris Reeves and his legacy because he meant so much to many, many people. And also his children continued his legacy to today, and the Reeve Foundation does such important work. And we also just felt it was a really great story, and people love him and people want to see him on screen, and that's what we've heard from everybody.
I mean, I feel honored and grateful that my family story, our family story, is out in the world, and that so many people that I love and care about are here to support us. It means a lot, and hopefully the response from audiences around the world will be worthy of the story. And it's a phenomenal story. My dad lived a singularly extraordinary life, and so did my mom, and she's very present in this film as well. And it's my honor to be their son and to help tell the story.
You know, the first time we saw this film, we'd been gifted a couple hours back with our family again, and so seeing those memories and seeing that world come alive. And I think a lot of people sometimes hear our story and just think about tragedy, but there was so much joy and so much laughter and so much love, and that's what got us through, and I'm glad people will get a picture of that too.
So I want audiences to hopefully take away a broader understanding of who our father and who Dana were. If you knew him and you remember his story, hopefully you learned something you didn't. If you didn't know him, well, this is who he was. And I hope people understand that he was more than just a guy in a cape, more than just a guy in a wheelchair, but that he was a husband and a father and a human being who was incredibly brave and courageous, but also had flaws. And the other thing is that there's a line in the film that he says, you know, you play the cards you're dealt if you think the game's worthwhile. And he thought the game was worthwhile. This was speaking after the accident. And I hope people leave thinking or wondering what makes the game worthwhile to them. Who are those people? What are those things that would sustain them in the face of extreme adversity and keep them going?
Emotion, love, some laughter, some tears, and then a reflection on their own lives, because it's a universal story about family and love, and you know, and we all have to go through dark things in our lives and come out the other side, as Christopher and Dana's children have. And I really hope that people take away those universal qualities from the film.
We agreed to participate by sitting for an interview and handing over our home movies, and then we got out and said, go make your thing, we trust you. And that trust was rewarded, which it's a big leap of faith, but it worked out.
You know, what's interesting is that our dad's circumstances were unique, but the themes in this movie are universal. It's about family, it's about overcoming hardship, it's about being there for your partner and your loved ones. And I think there's going to be a lot that people see in there that'll remind them of themselves. And our world needs a little bit more inspiration and a little bit more hope these days, and I hope people find that too.
It was quite easy to show his personal life in a really intimate way because the family had so much archive footage. They filmed everything and they had a wealth of material, and they just opened it all up to us, and we got as much as we wanted. And balancing that with his professional life, well, he had a great career in Hollywood, so we were able to use all of that. Yeah.
This month is his birthday, so it's going to be in Fathom Theaters on September 25th, which is pretty great. He would have been 72 years old, and I know he would have been really happy to see this reaction.
Once, Passion Pictures kind of came into the picture, and then they introduced us to Ian and Peter. We watched their previous work. I mean, McQueen and Rising Phoenix were both outstanding. I really loved how they used CG and the animation to sort of break up the story and kind of elevate the documentary to a kind of more artistic, cinematic viewing experience. They're also just like super lovely guys. We got on really well. They asked the right questions, and we just felt a connection and had a very kind of quickly understood that they would tell this story with the sensitivity and nuance that it deserved, but also like not just make it as sort of sugar-coated puff piece. That they explore all of him, sort of flaws and quirks and all. So it was a wonderful experience making it with them.
As we were making the film, we realized the importance, and then the fact that actually she represented, when you have such a tragic accident, not only what happened to you, but what happened to the people really close to you, and how they have to surround you and have to lift you up sometimes daily, not only physically because he had lost, all use of his limbs, but the fact that morally she had to be there, she had to pick up the rest of the family, and she had to keep the family unit. Plus, on top of it, she became very much part of the foundation and pushed the foundation in other parts. And I think to what Peter was saying, what we want audience to take is their love story and what they stood for as humans, and their qualities and their values are very important. It's truth, it's love, it's sincerity, they had a recomposed family. And I think all those elements are very needed right now in the world, in a very divisive world. And I think the Reeve family are a beautiful family. And if you see the children in this film, they just stand for the right things.
So we agreed to sit for interviews and give access to the family archive, and then just trust that these filmmakers were going to do the story justice and to show the full story of our dad, a holistic picture, a real picture of, the man behind the cape. And they did a really beautiful job telling a very human story that I think a lot of people will relate to.
I am really excited. I feel exhilarated. I'm so happy that Christopher and Dana's story is being told to the world, and that it's an opportunity to raise the visibility of our community members across the world.
Their vision was that this film would be a holistic, comprehensive, unflinching, honest view and portrait of our father. And that's, we think, what he would have wanted, because he cared about integrity and authenticity and vulnerability, and that's very apparent in this film. And because it's so authentic and honest and human, people will be able to take a lot out of it, because it's one thing to think of Christopher Reeve as Superman, a larger-than-life figure, even post-accident as a larger-than-life inspiration to millions, if you will. But to see him in this film at his most vulnerable and most normal and silly and dad-y, that I think will resonate with people the most, because this is a story of a human being who achieved extraordinary things, and he's a hero for that reason, and I think people will take a lot out of that.
This was an independent film. We submitted it to Sundance. Suddenly it was opening Sundance, and then suddenly Warner Brothers was picking it up and it's being shown around the world. That is not what we expected, and we're so honored by all of that and just here for the ride.
It's absolutely amazing. You know, we're documentary filmmakers, so we're used to organising our own premieres and persuading people to come and taking all the photos and holding a clipboard with the guest list. And here we have this amazing event where people want to come and see this film. We believe documentaries are films, and we think films can change the world. And we think this is just a really special film. We've been blown away by the response to it. We made the film completely independently. We didn't know if anybody would ever buy it or sell it. Warner bought it completely when it was finished, and they have been the most amazing partners to the film.
So I had the honor and privilege to work with both Christopher and Dana. I've been here a very long time. And they were exactly, Dana was exactly what you saw. She was compassionate, she was passionate, and she wanted to affect change. Christopher was brilliant. He had a vision, and he was in a rush to make change. I'm honored and privileged to fulfill their legacy.
It's such an honor to be here and have all of these people out to celebrate the story in the film. It really means the world to all of us. It's so timely. It's 20 years since we lost my dad, and to have a whole new generation of people get to know him, and the people who think they knew him learn more about his life, is a total gift.
It's such an incredible story. Superman was part of my childhood, and there's a real challenge with documentary, because with fiction you can really push the boundaries and push the audience's emotion, but the score is the emotional narrative, and with a documentary it's got to be so honest. You've got to really pinpoint the exact emotion, and that's a huge challenge.
Well, I think the world has a lot of dark problems at the moment, climate change and war and so on, and we feel this is a positive story. Even though it's sad, it's about family and love, and we feel that's what people need. And more importantly, the three Reeve children were ready to tell their story and really ready to kind of bear everything for this film, and they shared their home movie, hundreds of tapes with us, and it was just the most amazing gift to the film.
This is so cool. I've always wanted to be at the festival, and to have a Clint Eastwood film, no better way to be a part of the festival than to have this film be a part of it. And I'm really excited for people to see it. It's a really timely piece about the judicial system and a moral issue. And you got a murderer's row of actors and an amazing director helming this really cool piece. So I'm excited for people to see it.
Their vision was that this film would be a holistic, comprehensive, unflinching, honest view and portrait of our father. And that's, we think, what he would have wanted, because he cared about integrity and authenticity and vulnerability, and that's very apparent in this film. And because it's so authentic and honest and human, people will be able to take a lot out of it, because it's one thing to think of Christopher Reeve as Superman, a larger-than-life figure, even post-accident as a larger-than-life inspiration to millions, if you will. But to see him in this film at his most vulnerable and most normal and silly and dad-y, that I think will resonate with people the most, because this is a story of a human being who achieved extraordinary things, and he's a hero for that reason, and I think people will take a lot out of that. We agreed to participate by sitting for an interview and handing over our home movies, and then we got out and said, go make your thing, we trust you, and that trust was rewarded, which it's a big leap of faith, but it worked out.
But I think what's amazing about the film is that you can relate to it. If you're a parent, you relate to it one way. If you're a child, you relate to it to another way. It's a human story that connects to all people.
He is an actor's director. He really trusts his actors to know their homework, to come ready, prepared, and he trusts us. And that, in turn, makes you really want to do a better job for him. We lovingly call him the boss on set. And so you want to do a good job for the boss, and particularly with this subject matter and possibly his last film. You really want to make sure you do a good job for him. And I think it's a good picture in the canon of Eastwood films. And I'm proud of it.
I think I learned that families, your family isn't just the people that you have genetic relationships with. Family is community, the people around you, the way that Robin Williams and his wife Marsha became a family to the Reeves. And just that power of joy and love in family life and how important it is, even when you're faced with what you think could be the most devastating thing of all, losing the ability to walk, talk, and breathe on your own.